Today we're making Vietnamese chicken curry, also known as car ragar. It's absolutely incredible, so much flavour, and it's so easy to make, and it's probably one of the best curries I've done on the channel so far.
For the prep, we're going to need 2 carrots, top and tail these, and then roughly chop into bite-sized and even-sized pieces. Make sure they are the same size, that way they'll cook at the same rate. Next is 500 grams or 1.1 pounds of any all-rounder potato. Slice them in half lengthways and then roughly chop, same thickness as the carrots, and I leave the peels on for a little bit of extra flavour. We're going to need 1 brown or yellow onion, slice off both ends, slice it in half, peel it, you know the trick. Then we're going to slice this across in the half moon position. 6 cloves of garlic can be ran along a microplane to create a paste. You can also roughly chop it, thinly slice it, but you are going to get a better flavour from that paste. And then we also need 3 stalks of lemongrass. This is just for infusion. If you can't get it, it's not the end of the world. But we're going to slice these in half lengthways and you can smash them around a little bit to bruise them up. Last but not least is the chicken. I'm using 1 kilo or 2.2 pounds of boneless and skinless chicken thigh. I'm slicing it into strips, but you can also dice it or leave it whole. The choice is all yours. Once you have that done, place the chicken into a bowl, add in 2 teaspoons of any neutral flavored oil. I'm using vegetable oil for this. 2 teaspoons of chicken stock powder and 2 tablespoons of Vietnamese curry powder. If you can't get that, Indian curry powder is completely fine. Season to taste with salt, and I'm also using a little bit of ground black pepper for this. You can also use ground white or even cracked black pepper. The choice is all yours. Mix it around with a clean hand and then just set it aside for the time being. Now into a large pan or pot over medium-high heat, add in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil or any neutral flavored oil. Add in the carrots and the potatoes along with a pinch of salt. Then we're going to cook these off for about 4 to 5 minutes. This is going to get a little bit of colour onto them, add a little bit of flavour into the pan. Then we can start removing these and just place them into a bowl to set them aside. Next to go in is the chicken and all of the spices that it's coated in. We're going to spread this out, and I like to let this sit for a couple of minutes just to get a little bit of colour on it. Just make sure it's not all sitting on top of one another. Then we can start mixing it through, get that brown colour all over, allow those spices to toast, really infuse and create a beautiful flavour within the pan. We're only going to cook this for about 3 to 4 minutes as well, just like the potatoes and carrots. Then remove it and place it into a separate bowl. Now, if you do find your pan is getting a little bit too hot or even drying out from the oil, just add a little bit more oil and definitely turn the pan down. But we're going to add the onions in next and continue frying these off for about 4 minutes just to get that nice golden brown color and pick up the flavors that were left behind from the potatoes, carrots, and of course that chicken with all of the spices. Then add in the garlic, the lemongrass, and a pinch of salt. Spread the garlic out, make sure it's not stuck in a clump because that's what happens to the pastes. And we're going to cook this for 1 minute just until it becomes nice and fragrant. Let's then reintroduce that chicken that we seared off before, along with any of the resting juices. Also adding in 4 bay leaves, 4 lime leaves, 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of sugar, which is optional, but I do highly recommend it. 3 cups or 750 milliliters of chicken stock. It's going to help pull up all of that flavor and also help create our sauce. 1 cup or 250 milliliters of water. It's just going to balance out the ingredients. 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of fish sauce, and get back in there and mix this all together. We're going to bring this up to a simmer, and once it is at a simmer, reduce the heat to low and cook this for 10 minutes. Now after 10 minutes, we can add back in the carrots and potatoes. Mix this all through really well, make sure everything's completely covered in all of that sauce. Bring the whole thing back up to a simmer, then reduce the heat to low again, and cook for 15 minutes until the potatoes have softened up a little bit, but not completely fork tender. The next thing to go in is 1 can or 400 milliliters of coconut milk, not coconut cream. And I'm also adding in 2 teaspoons of sambal oelek, which is just a chili paste. Completely optional, don't have to do it if you don't want to, but it does spice things up a little bit and adds a nice little heat to it without being too overpowering. Now that everything's in, mix everything together really well, allow all of those flavors to become friends, bring it back up to a simmer, and we're going to cook it for a final 5 minutes until those potatoes are now fork tender, as well as the carrots. We don't want them to be completely falling apart, and then gently mix it through, just in case we do end up breaking up any of those potatoes. Just be nice and gentle with it. Check it for seasoning one last time, adjust if necessary, and this can be removed from the stovetop. And then traditionally, this is served with a baguette. I couldn't get a traditional baguette for some reason, so I'm only using this bread roll right here, and I'm toasting it in the oven to my liking. Don't have to do it if you don't want to. This can be served with all sorts of different things, which I have details about in the description. And before we serve up, just remember that there's lemongrass, bay leaves, lime leaves in there. Ingredients you don't really want to be biting into. Remove it, and then serve the curry up into a bowl. Make sure you get a nice mix of the potatoes, the chicken, the carrots, and the sauce. This recipe will serve 4 people. I'm serving mine with some sliced chili, a little bit of salt, and of course that toasted baguette. Garnish it up with some coriander or cilantro, and what we have just created is this beautiful Vietnamese chicken curry, also known as car ragar.
So with that all said and done, there is only one thing left to do, and that is of course we can then dig in. That right there is a perfect dish, absolutely incredible. So much flavor, so much infusion. It's creamy, it's rich, a little bit salty, tiny bit of heat as well from that sambal. Of course, you don't have to add that if you don't want to. Definitely do try this recipe, it is incredible. Thanks for watching.